I never thought I'd fire my service weapon at my own father. But there he was, in the glow of his corner office downtown, smirking like he owned the world because he did. Or, at least the crooked parts of it that mattered. And me? I was staring down the barrel of a life sentence in someone else's skin. All because of the deal he struck with that back-alley surgeon who promised to fix everything. Body swaps aren't science fiction. They're the ultimate betrayal when you're desperate enough to believe in them. It started with blood on the welcome mat. At 1 a.m. The knock was more like a thud, soft. Then nothing. I yanked open the door in my tank top and boxers, heart slamming like a suspect's cuffs. And there she was, Mom, crumpled on the porch, her silk blouse torn at the collar, a fresh bruise blooming purple across her cheekbone like some godawful abstract painting. "Sophia," she whispered, blood flecking her lips. He's not who you think." Her eyes, usually so steady, darted to the shadows as if the devil himself might be lurking in our manicured lawn. I scooped her up, screaming for an ambulance, but deep down, I knew Dad had finally crossed the line from golden boy senator to monster in the flesh. That night in the ER, while the docs stitched her up and pumped her full of sedatives, I pieced it together from the fragments she mumbled in her haze. Dad, Senator Harlan Reid, the family man with the $1 million smile and the pipeline of PAC money, hadn't just been working late. He'd been unraveling us thread by thread. The mistress? Not some wide-eyed intern, but Elena Voss, the biotech heiress whose fortune was built on experimental neural tech that the FDA wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. They'd been at it for years, right under our noses in that McMansion in Arlington, Virginia, where the American dream goes to die quietly behind picket fences. Mom found out 6 months ago, confronted him in a hotel suite overlooking the Potomac, and he'd backhanded her so hard she blacked out. But that wasn't the worst. No. The worst was what came after, the cover-up, the gaslighting, the way he convinced her it was her fault for not being enough. I was 28, fresh out of the academy, badge number 4782 pinned to my chest like a target. Quantico had drilled me on procedure, on de-escalation, on the thin blue line that separates order from chaos. But family? That's where the rules dissolve like cheap aspirin in rain. By dawn, Mom was stable, doped up on morphine and morphine-laced lies, and I was back home, rifling through Dad's study like a junkie chasing a fix. The safe, combination his wedding date. The bastard, cracked open to reveal ledgers, encrypted drives, and a single vial of iridescent blue serum labeled Project Echo, Neural Transference Protocol. Elena's company, Voss Neural Dynamics, wasn't just playing God, they were leasing out souls to the highest bidder. That's when the phone rang. Elena's voice, smooth as aged bourbon, slithered through the line. "Sophia, darling, your father's told me all about your frustrations. Come to the lab. We can make it right." I hung up, but the seed was planted. Revenge isn't a straight shot, it's a ricochet. And mine started with a drive to that sterile warehouse on the outskirts of D.C., where the air smelled like ozone and regret. The lab was a fortress of glass and chrome, guarded by NDAs thicker than Kevlar. Elena met me at the door, all sharp cheekbones and Louboutins, her lab coat draped like a cape over a sheath dress that screamed, "Power play." "Your mother's accident," she purred, leading me past humming servers and vats of glowing fluid, "was regrettable. Harlan's under a lot of stress. The election's heating up, and those Russian donors don't like loose ends." She paused at a door marked Echo Chamber, her eyes gleaming like a cat's in the dark. "But we can fix it. Imagine you, in his skin, whispering the truth to every donor, every voter. Or better, ending him from the inside. Body swapping. It sounded like a bad acid trip, but Elena laid it out cold. Neural mapping, cryogenic stasis, a 15-minute window where consciousness leaps the gap like a spark across electrodes. Illegal as hell. Sure, FDA blacklisted it after the first trials left volunteers as vegetables, but for the elite, it was Tuesday's special. Dad had used it before, she admitted casually, to negotiate with cartel contacts in Miami, slipping into a rival's body to sign deals that smelled like blood money.
And now, he wanted to swap with me.
To teach you loyalty, Elena said, smirking. Or to silence you. I should have walked. Flashed my badge. Called in the feds. But Mom's bruise was still fresh in my mind, and the ledger showed payoffs to cops on my own force, Captain Ruiz, my mentor, bought and paid for. Betrayal doesn't knock. It slides in like fog. Do it, I said, stripping down to a paper gown that crinkled like failure. The chamber hummed to life. Straps biting into my wrists, Elena's needle pricking my vein with that blue serum. Sweet dreams. Officer Reed, she whispered. Then, blackout. Waking up was like drowning in someone else's lungs. His hands, were manicured, heavy with a Rolex that ticked like a bomb. I flexed fingers that weren't mine, staring at a reflection in the polished steel table, Dad's face. Silver temples and all, grinning back with teeth too white, too perfect. Across the room, my body slumped in the harness. Sophia's lithe frame limp as a discarded uniform. Elena unstrapped me, no. Him, patting my cheek. Welcome to the other side, Senator. Your daughters. Resting. We've got a gala tonight. Donors are waiting. Panic clawed at my throat, but I swallowed it, channeling every ounce of that Quantico steel. This wasn't just a swap, it was a cage. Dad's memories flooded in fragments, late nights with Elena, the slap that sent Mom tumbling down the hotel stairs, the accidental overdose of her antidepressants he'd staged to look like suicide. He'd framed her for embezzling from his campaign, planted evidence that had her blacklisted from her teaching job. And me? I'd taken the heat for his screw-ups before, covering for his DUIs as a teen, lying to IA about that anonymous tip that got my partner shot. I'd suffered for him, bled for him, and he'd repay it by stealing my skin to play puppet master. But I wasn't going down quiet. First move, play along. I straightened Dad's tie in the mirror, practicing that Ashok smile that won Virginia by 5 points last cycle. Elena. Love, I said, voice a gravelly baritone that made my stomach turn. Let's make this gala unforgettable. She bought it. Hook and sinker. Chattering about oligarchs from Moscow and pharma execs itching for echo access. In the limo to the Kennedy Center, I palmed Dad's phone, biometrics bypassed with his thumb, and texted Mom from an burner app. It's me. Trust nothing. Coming home. The gala was a viper pit, crystal chandeliers dripping light like fake tears, air thick with Chanel No. 5 and cigar smoke. I worked the room in a tux that fit like guilt, shaking hands with men who'd sell their daughters for a tax break. There was Ruiz, my captain, nursing a scotch and avoiding my eyes, Dad's eyes, like they burned. Harlan, he muttered. About that shipment. I leaned in, close enough to smell the bourbon on his breath. The one from Voss Dynamics? Yeah. I know. And I know you skimmed 10%. His face drained white. I slipped him a USB drive with the ledger scans I'd emailed myself from the lab. Resign by morning, or this goes viral.
Oh.
And tell the boys downtown. Sophia's clean. Always was. It was a gamble. Controversial as hell. Extorting a cop? That's batch-kissing territory. But desperation breeds devils. By midnight, Ruiz was on the phone to IA, spilling like a sieve, and I was slipping out a side door, hailing a cab back to the lab. Elena had my body under lock and key, sedated in a holding cell. But Dad? He was probably already plotting his escape, waking up in my skin with a hangover and a grudge. The lab was quiet, guards nodding as Senator Reed flashed ID. I found the chamber. Elena's notes scattered like confetti from hell. Swap reversal required a second dose. Timed precisely. Or permanent neural fry. My body, Sophia, lay on a gurney. 4 dripping saline. Bruises from the straps marring arms that used to feel like home. Rage boiled up. Hot and black. This was his endgame. Use me to sabotage his rivals. Then swap back and pin the fallout on erratic Officer Reed, the daughter who cracked under family pressure. He'd bury us both, Mom included, in a narrative of dysfunction that played perfect on Fox News. I injected the reversal serum, the chamber whirring to life again. But as consciousness yanked free, a new flood hit. Dad's secrets. Unfiltered. The mistress wasn't just a fling. Elena was the architect. She'd seduced him years ago. Not for love, but to test Echo on a mark with power. Mom's accident, orchestrated by Elena, who slipped the bruise-inducing drug into Dad's drink during a threesome gone wrong. Wait.
What?
Flashes of silk sheets. Laughter turning to screams. Dad's hand raised not in anger but reflex. He'd taken the fall for Elena.
Covered it up.
But the guilt had twisted him into the monster I knew. And the crime I'd suffered for? That partner shot in the line of duty? Dad's tip had been Elena's play to eliminate a whistleblower sniffing Voss's black market trials. The swap reversed in a blaze of white-hot pain, and I gasped awake in my own skin, the world tilting like a funhouse mirror. Dad's body convulsed across from me. His no. My eyes fluttering open in confusion. Sophia, he croaked, voice cracking. For a split second, I saw it, regret, raw and human. The father I'd lost somewhere between Little League games and law school tuition. But then Elena burst in, syringe in hand, her face a mask of calculation. Time's up. Harlan.
Or should I say?
Sophia? That's when I made the call. Controversial? Hell yes. I grabbed the chamber's emergency shutdown lever, read, labeled purge, and yanked. Alarms wailed as the system vented coolant, freezing the neural maps, trapping Elena mid-stride in a cloud of vapor. She screamed, clawing at her throat. But it was too late. The serum in her veins crystallized, locking her consciousness in limbo. Dad, in my body, stumbled forward, pleading,
Don't.
I did it for us.
Lies.
Always lies. I cuffed him with his own Senate pass as a gag, dialing 911 from the landline. This is Officer Sophia Reed. I've got a senator in custody for assault, conspiracy, and human experimentation. Send the feds. As sirens wailed in the distance, Mom's text buzzed his phone. Come home, baby. It's over. But was it? The twist hit like a gut punch when the feds stormed in. Dad's body, still inhabited by his mind, collapsed clutching a hidden drive.
On it?
Proof that Mom had known about Elena for years. Hell, she'd greenlit the first swap to save Dad from his demons, a twisted act of love that backfired into this nightmare. She'd suffered the beatings, the framing, not as victim, but as architect of her own cage, whispering to me that night on the porch to ignite the spark. Reversal. She wasn't the innocent. She was the puppet master, using me to burn it all down. I stood there in the flashing lights, uniform torn and bloodied, my blood, his blood, whose, as they hauled me away in cuffs. A happy ending? Tragic? You tell me. In America, revenge is just another vote, and the House always wins. The holding cell at the Arlington precinct smelled like stale coffee and broken promises, a concrete box where suspects stared at their reflections until they cracked. I paced its confines in Dad's body, Senator Harlan Reid's bespoke suit hanging loose now, like a skin too big for the soul inside, watching the clock tick toward dawn. My real body was in medical, pumped full of anti-rejection drugs to flush the echo residue. But every nerve screamed wrongness. His broad shoulders ached with old golf injuries. His knees popped like gunfire on linoleum. And the memories? They leaked like a sieve. Unbidden flashes of boardrooms and bedrooms. Power plays that made my Quantico ethics class look like Sunday school. Feds swarmed the lab by 3 a.m., black SUVs carving up the industrial park like sharks to chum. Agent Kessler, a stone-faced vet with a buzz cut and a stare that peeled lies like onions, grilled me first. Officer Reid, or should I say Senator, walk me through it. Your father's prints on the serum vial. Your DNA in the chamber logs. This some kind of deep-fake op? I leaned back in the interrogation chair, crossing legs that felt like lead weights, and spun the tale. Elena's seduction. Dad's complicity. The swap as insurance against whistleblowers. Omitted the mom twist. Of course, that bomb would detonate later, when I could control the blast radius. Kessler bought half of it. Enough to slap RICO charges on Voss Dynamics by breakfast. Human trafficking via consciousness, he muttered, scribbling notes. That's a new one for the docket. But his eyes lingered on me. Suspicious. Like he could smell the swap sweat under the cologne. They transferred me, Dad in Sophia's frame, to a psych eval at Quantico, where shrinks poked at the delusional cop claiming to be a senator. I watched from a secure line, heart twisting as my own face babbled about Russian oligarchs and neural black ops. Controversial decision number 2. I let them sedate him. Watching my body twitch under the restraints, it was like burying a piece of myself alive. But mercy's for rookies. Revenge demands sacrifice. By noon, Mom arrived at the precinct. Her bruise faded to yellow, but her eyes sharp as switchblades. She hugged me, this hulking stranger in her husband's skin, whispering, "You did good."
Soft.
He's out of our hair now. Over lukewarm vending machine coffee in the family room. She spilled the rest, voice low and laced with that southern drawl she'd picked up from her Georgia roots. Turns out, the affair started in 2018, during Dad's first run for office. Elena, then a rising star in Silicon Valley exile, hosted a fundraiser at her Georgetown brownstone. One thing led to martinis to the master suite, and suddenly Dad was hooked on more than her venture capital. But Mom? She'd known from the jump. Hacked his phone. Old school PDA mom with a side hustle in cybersecurity from her days teaching comp sci. I could have divorced him then, she said, stirring sugar packets into oblivion. Taken half the slush fund. Raised you in peace. But Harlan, he was broken. Baby. PTSD from that Gulf deployment. the one he never talked about. Elena's serum promised to reboot him, swap out the nightmares for clarity. So she greenlit the first trial, held in their basement rec room turned makeshift lab. Dad swapped with a volunteer, a homeless vet Elena sourced from DC shelters, for a test run. It worked. Sort of. He came back steadier, sharper.
But the vet?
Fried. Left catatonic in an alley with a pocketful of hush money. That's the crime I'd shouldered unknowingly. As a teen, I'd found the vet's body during a neighborhood jog. Freaked. And called it in anonymously. Dad spun it as a gang hit. But the fallout? IA flagged me as unreliable witness, tanking my early academy apps. He'd framed me for his sins. And Mom let him. All in the name of saving the family. Betrayal layered like onion skin, peeling back to reveal the rot at the core. I wanted to hate her. Cuff her right there in the precinct lounge. But her hand on mine, his hand, trembled, and I saw the woman who'd bandaged my scraped knees, cheered my graduations, lied to herself so I could chase the badge. The slap, she confessed, voice cracking, wasn't him. Elena spiked his drink with a rage inducer, tested it on lab rats first. She wanted him discredited, out of the way so she could run for his seat unopposed. I took the fall to protect you, planted the embezzlement trail on myself, made it look like spousal revenge, deep secrets, buried under years of minivan carpools and PDA bake sales. America, land of the free, home of the damned. We plotted over those bitter brews, reversal swap at a black site clinic Kessler owed me from a narcotics bust last year. But Elena? She'd vanished in the purge. Body iced but mind adrift in the ether, Echo's ghost protocol. A failsafe that uploaded consciousness to Voss servers. She's out there, Mom warned. In the cloud. Pulling strings. Power like that doesn't die. It reboots. Night fell heavy.
DC.
Traffic a distant hum. They moved me to a safe house in Bethesda. A bland colonial with blackout curtains and a detail of marshals who eyed me like a sideshow freak. Slipping Dad's Senate ID got me access to his cloud drive. Password his frat house alma mater. Vanderbilt 89, and there it was. Elena's manifesto. A digital screed on democratizing identity for the 1%. She'd swapped with CEOs, judges, even a Supreme Court clerk to rig rulings on biotech regs. Dad was just her latest host. A stepping stone to the Oval. Sleep came fitful. Haunted by his memories, Elena's laugh echoing in marble bathrooms. The thrill of deals sealed in smoke-filled dens. I woke sweating, convinced she'd jacked in, whispering from the walls. Controversial call 3. I hot-wired Dad's Bentley from the impound lot, Grand Theft Auto on a senator's ride, and burned rubber to Elena's Pied de Terre in Foggy Bottom. If she was a ghost, I'd exorcise her the old-fashioned way. The apartment was a minimalist fever dream. White walls, Eames chairs, a wall of servers humming like angry bees. I breached the door with Dad's key fob, perks of marital bliss, and found her physical shell in the bedroom. Pale and IV'd. Monitors beeping a flatline dirge. But the laptop glowed, cursor dancing to an unseen hand. Sophia, it typed, letters blooming like bruises. You think you've won? Harlan's mind is fracturing. Enjoy the migraines. Rage surged, pure and electric. I yanked the power cord, servers winding down in a cascade of sparks. Alarm shrieked, Voss security en route, but I was already moving, smashing hard drives with the heel of Dad's loafer, shards flying like shattered illusions. As I fled into the rain-slick streets, sirens closing in, a final message flickered on my burner. Mom's next. Check the will. Twist upon twist. The will, filed last month, left everything to Elena, Voss stock, the house, even my academy tuition fund. Mom hadn't just known. She'd signed it. A collateral for one last swap to fix Dad permanently. Reversal again. She wasn't saving us. She was selling us out for a clean slate. I floored it toward home. The beltway a blur of taillights and truth. Revenge wasn't a climax. It was a marathon. And I was lapped. Home wasn't the sanctuary it used to be. The McMansion loomed like a tombstone under sodium streetlights. Its colonial facade hiding rot that smelled like formaldehyde and fried circuits. I ditched the Bentley 2 blocks out, too hot, even for a senator's ghost, and crept the fence line. Dad's bulk making every rustle feel like a felony. Marshals were stretched thin after the lab raid. No detail here. Just the hum of sprinklers and the distant bark of a neighbor's labradoodle. I picked the back door lock with a credit card, ironic, Dad's Amex, and slipped inside. The kitchen clock mocking me at 2:17 a.m. Mom was in the study, silhouetted against the desk lamp, shredding documents with the fervor of a woman tying off loose ends. Papers fluttered like dying moths, campaign receipts, Voss contracts, a faded photo of us three at Disney World, smiles plastered over the gathering storm. "Soph," she said without turning, voice steady as a surgeon's hand. "You're early." The swap set for dawn at the clinic. She pivoted, box cutter glinting, eyes hollowed by secrets too heavy to carry. We circled each other like prize fighters in a ring too small, me in his rumpled suit, her in a robe stained with what smelled like Merlot. The will.
Mom.
Elena's cut of everything. "You sold us out." The words hung, accusatory, sparking the air. She didn't flinch, just set the cutter down with deliberate calm. "It was insurance, baby. If Harlan cracked under interrogation, the Fed sees it all, schools, hospitals, your pension." Elena promised to funnel it back through shells.
Clean. Clean. The word tasted like ash.
I grabbed her wrist, gentle, but firm. Quantico habits dying hard, and pulled her to the laptop, pulling up the cloud drive I'd mirrored before torching the servers. Emails, timestamps glaring. Mom to Elena. Phase 2, Sophia as conduit. Harlan's debts cleared upon transfer.
Debts?
Plural. Flashback hit like vertigo. Dad's gambling jags in Atlantic City. High roller suites bankrolled by Voss loans. Mom covering with her inheritance from Grandma's farm. I'd bailed him once. At 22. Wiring my savings from waitressing shifts to keep the wolves from the door. Suffered for it. 2. Dropped a semester. Worked doubles. All while he preached, "Pull yourself up" on C-SPAN. "You used me," I growled, his voice booming in the quiet house, rattling family portraits on the walls. "Framed yourself. Let him beat you. Dosed him with that rage shit to make him the villain. And for what? A biotech fairy tale?" Tears pricked. Foreign in his ducks. But I blinked them back. Cops don't cry. Senator's posture. Mom sank into the leather chair, deflating like a punctured tire. "You don't get it."
Soph.
Elena's not the monster. She's the future. Echo could end wars, swap leaders into soldiers' bodies. Feel the shrapnel. Your father. He saw it. Wanted it. But the cartels got wind. Started bidding. I had to act.
Act.
like we were bit players in her script. The betrayal deepened, roots twisting into my gut. She confessed on the porch not to ignite revenge, but to manipulate the swap, using my fury as the catalyst. Sirens wailed distant. Voss cleanup crew. Or feds tying knots. Time compressed. Reverse it now, I demanded, slamming a fist on the desk. Pens scattering like buckshot. Call off the clinic. We go public. All of it. Her laugh was bitter. Champagne gone flat. And ruin us? Harlan's donors are the party machine. They'll bury you as the crazy cop who offed her old man. Dad in my body was already lawyered up at Quantico, spinning yarns of experimental therapy gone wrong, Elena's ghost feeding him lines from the dark web. Controversial pivot. I cuffed her to the desk leg, standard issue, swiped from the safe house, zip ties biting into her thin wrists. You're under citizen's arrest.
Mom.
Conspiracy to commit. Whatever the hell this is. Her eyes widened, not in fear, but pity. Sophia Reed, the girl who always followed rules. But rules won't save you from what's coming. She nodded to the window, where headlights pierced the curtains like accusatory fingers. They breached fast, black tactical gear. Voss Merck's moonlighting as private security, faces masked, and P5S slung low. Breach charge popped the front door, flashbangs rolling like thunder. I dove behind the couch. Dad's paunch, no asset in a firefight, grabbing the box cutter as my equalizer. Federal agent, I bellowed, bluffing with his timbre. Stand down. They didn't. Pop of suppressed rounds chewing the drywall. Books exploding in puffs of dust. Mom screamed,
Stop.
She's family, but family meant nothing in the crossfire. I rolled, slashing at an ankle, drawing blood and a yelp. Up close. The Merc's eyes register recognition. Ruiz is off-duty muscle. The skimmer from the gala. Senator? Shit. I headbutt him, stars bursting. Then zip-tied his wrists with Mom's shredded confetti.
2 down.
4 to go. Heart pounding. I herded them into the kitchen at gunpoint. Dad's .38 from the study drawer, nickel-plated like his ego. Talk, I snarled, barricading the door with the island cart. The leader, a scar-faced vet with buzzed temples, spat blood. Voss says the girl's a liability. Upload's glitching. Elena needs a new host. Host.
Me?
Or Mom. The hidden secret unraveled. Elena's mind wasn't adrift. It was migrating. Prepping to leap into Mom's body for the long game. Immortality via matriarch. Puppeteering the Reed legacy from the grave. Gunfire rattled the windows. But I held. Dialing Kessler one-handed. Safe house compromised. Send backup, now. As feds ETA'd, Mom twisted in her bonds, whispering, Let me go.
Soft.
I can end this.
Trust? Shattered.
But blood's thicker than procedure. I cut her free, and together we faced the storm, mother and daughter, or warden and inmate, waiting for the tide to turn. Dawn broke bloody. Feds storming in a symphony of bullhorns and beanbag rounds. Mercs down, zip-tied, spilling Voss addies like confetti. Mom slipped a note into my palm. Clinic at 6.
Come alone.
Truth awaits. I pocketed it, watching as they loaded her into an ambulance for protective custody. Truth or trap? The drive to the clinic was a funeral procession. Beltway choked with morning commuters oblivious to the apocalypse in my veins. Dad's memory surged. Elena's first swap. A demo on a rival exec, leaving him a vegetable in a Hamptons clinic. Powers aphrodisiac. But the crash?
Catastrophic.
The clinic squatted on the edge of Fairfax. A nondescript brick bunker masquerading as a pain management center, signage for Botox and Botox-adjacent sins. But the basement hummed with the forbidden hum of echo. I arrived at 5:58. Dad's Jaguar purring to a stop in the employee lot. Engine ticking cool, as my resolve. No backup, Kessler was tied up in warrants. And trusting feds felt like betting on a lame horse at Pimlico. Mom's note burned in my pocket. Truth awaits.
Truth.
Or Terminus. The receptionist, pokey blonde with a Voss lanyard, buzzed me through without a blink. Mistaking bulk for authority.
Dr.
Voss is expecting you. Senator. Elena's shell. Or proxy. Down the service elevator. Sterile white giving way to gray utility corridors. The air thickening with antiseptic and anticipation. Mom waited in the echo chamber. Gown clad on the gurney. For pole her scepter. Soft, she breathed. As I strapped in opposite, reversal rig primed, blue serum vials glinting like venom. You came. Like I had a choice. I secured the harness. His hands steady despite the tremor in my soul. Spill it. All of it. No more shells.
She sighed.
Eyes distant, like scanning a horizon only she could see. The beginning? Your father and I met at Vanderbilt, 88. Anti-apartheid rally. He was fire. I was ice. We built this life on compromises, his ambition, my caution. Elena crashed in like a comet, promising to fuse them. Flash. Wedding vows under Virginia oaks. Dad's hand on her belly, mine. Unborn. Vowing protection. Lies from day one. The serum pricked. Cold fire in the vein. As the chamber sealed, Mom confessed the core rot. The crime I'd borne wasn't just the vet. It was her. Years back. A Voss trial volunteer, Mom's cousin. Lila, dying of MS, swapped with a healthy donor for a cure. Glitch. Lila's mind trapped. Body rejecting. Suicide staged as overdose. Mom covered. Planted evidence pointing to Dad's stress relief pills. I'd found the scene as a kid, playing detective in the garage. And Dad pinned the tampering on me to shield her, grounded me for months. Called it tough love. Suffered for nothing, bled for ghosts. Why? I choked. As neural sync began. The world fuzzing at edges. To keep us whole.
Whole.
Fractured fairy tale. Elena's voice crackled over intercom, ghost in the machine. Touching. But the upload's ready. Harlan. Or Sophia. Step aside. The twist inverted. Mom wasn't puppet. She was the coder. She'd backdoored the servers. Prepping to host Elena herself. Merging minds for ultimate control. Senator's wife as shadow president. The panic spiked. I thrashed against straps. But the chamber locked. Countdown ticking. 14:59. Memories collided. Dad's Gulf horrors bleeding into my academy drills. Elena's seductions tainting Mom's lullabies. Betrayal symphony. The family man who'd hit her? Elena in a temp body. Testing dominance. The real Harlan? A pawn.
Like me.
Swapped and swapped until original faded. Controversial zenith. Mid-sync. I overrode the console. Dad's passcode. His mistress's birthday. Purging the upload. Elena held digital static. Code unraveling like smoke. Mom's eyes cleared. True self-surfacing. Stop. It's me. Baby, the real me. Reversal upon reversal. She'd feigned complicity. A long con to trap Elena's essence, sacrificing her body as bait. I dosed myself weeks ago. Fragmented my mind to lure her in. Now finish it. Fingers mine, flew over keys, initiating full purge. The chamber bucked, alarms shrieking, as Elena's ghost fragmented, shards of code evaporating into ether. Mom convulsed, foam at lips, but smiled through it. Free. We're free. Sync completed, consciousness yanked back. Me and me, her and her, bodies reclaimed, minds scarred but sovereign. We stumbled out as feds breached. Kessler at point, weapon drawn. Read. What the? I raised hands, badgeless but unbroken. It's over. Voss ghosted. Elena's physical shell? Autopsied later. Brain matter Swiss cheese from the failed merge. Mom collapsed into my arms, real arms, whispering, "Forgive." Controversial absolution. I did. Or tried. Families aren't fixed, they're forged in fire. But power vacuums suck hard.
Dad.
In my body still. Lawyered up and out on bail by noon, Voss remnants pulling strings from Singapore servers. The revenge climax loomed, Gala 2.0. A Unity fundraiser at the Willard, where he'd announce his miraculous recovery and pin the chaos on rogue elements. I suited up, not his tux, but my uniform, starched and shining. Backup piece holstered low. Mom stayed home, sedated for real this time, her secrets sealed in a therapist's vault. Arlington to D.C. Rush hour, a gauntlet of horns and hubris. The Willard ballroom glittered. Politicos toasting with Veuve, oblivious to the storm and stilettos. Dad, my face, my frame, but his swagger, held court at the podium. Microphone crooning about resilience. I slipped the perimeter. Marshals nodding, Kessler's vouch, and mounted the stage mid-speech. Spotlights blinding. Ladies and gentlemen, I boomed, voice mine at last. The senator has a confession. Gasps rippled, security tensed. He whirled, eyes widening in his body. Sophia? This is, I drew. Service, weapon steady. Barrel kissing his temple. Necessary. The room froze. Phones out. Live streams igniting. Controversial as crucifixion. Cop holding father at gunpoint. Broadcast live to millions. You stole my skin, Dad. My life. For her. For power. Flashback deluge. His hand on Mom. Not slap but caress. Elena's shadow puppeteering. The crowd murmured. Phones capturing the unravel. He whispered, desperate. It was for you,
Kid.
The swaps. To make me better. Lies. But laced with truth, the guilt that birthed the monster. My finger tightened, the line between justice and vendetta blurring like rain on glass. The trigger pull echoed in my skull. A thunderclap that didn't come. I held, barrel kissing sweat-slick temple. The Willards' ballroom, a frozen tableau of tuxes and tiaras. Champagne flutes suspended midair. Dad's eyes, my eyes, pleaded, a mirror of the girl I'd been. Wide. Trusting.
Lost.
Sophia. Please. The party's watching. He was right. C-SPAN feeds buzzed. Twitter, X, whatever, exploding with read rage. Memes of cop versus clone fracturing the feed. Controversial calculus. One squeeze. And I'm the villain. Filial filicide. Badge revoked. Life in Supermax. But release? He walks. Elena's remnants regroup. Mom's sacrifices dust. Kessler's voice crackled in my earpiece, snuck it in under the collar. Stand down.
Read.
We've got the perimeter. Feds or Voss holdouts. Trust eroded like Potomac banks after flood. Mom's words echoed. Finish it. But whose end? The room thawed. Murmurs swelling to a roar. Donors dialing lawyers. Aides herding press. I pivoted the barrel skyward, firing a single round into the chandelier. Crystal rained like judgment, screams scattering the elite like roaches. Truth time, I roared, voice raw over the din. Grabbing the mic cord, I yanked Dad me forward, his slight frame buckling under the grip. This man isn't Senator Harlan Reid. He's a thief of bodies, of trust, of family. Laughter tittered nervous, then died as I hit play on the burner phone. Patched to the sound system, Elena's manifesto. Tinny and damning. Overlaid with lab logs. Mom's confessions redacted to essentials. Gasps turned to outrage. A donor, oil baron with Russian ties, lunged for his phone. But feds swarmed, Kessler cuffing him mid-dial. Dad, twisted, whispering hot. You don't know what you've unleashed. The swaps. They're in everyone. Ruiz. Kessler, even you.
Soft.
Echo leaves echoes. Paranoia spike. Was this body mine? Or laced with ghost code? The final twist inverted like a bad trip. Reversal not of truth, but self. In the chaos, a flash drive slipped from his pocket, my pocket into my palm. DNA logs, showing not one swap,
but chains.
I'd been echoed before. Academy psych eval. Stress relief, that wasn't. Dad hadn't stolen my skin. I'd been borrowing his, fragmented from birth. Mom's first fix to cure my delicate nerves. The room spun. Feds hauled us away. But I staggered off stage. Uniform heavy as lead. Outside. Rain lashed Pennsylvania Avenue. Washington Monument, a lightning rod in the squall. Mom waited in the getaway sedan. Face pale but fierce. Did you? She asked. Engine rumbling. I slid in. Drive clutched like a talisman.
No.
But it's done. The logs? They'd bury the party. Expose the 1% soul trade.
But me?
Fractured forever. We drove into the night. Beltway looping endless. Sirens fading. Happy? No. Embers of what was. Tragic? Arguably. A family unspooled by ambition's thread. But debatable. Was revenge justice? Or just another swap? America debates in the dark. We drive on. Ghosts in the machine. Epilogue whispers. Dad plea bargained. Sophia, the fall guy for mental break. Released to a psych ward with ocean view. Mom and I, relocated to Oregon Witness Protection. Her teaching high school code. Me consulting on anomalous cases, cops chasing shadows they can't name. Elena, code ghosts in the wind. But sometimes, at 1 a.m., the mirror wavers. Whose eyes stare back? Yours to decide. The end? Or reboot?